Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October edition of the Mail2 User Support webinar. This is John Boyd. Glad that we have a good turnout today. I've got a couple of prepared topics and actually one question as well that was submitted earlier, and then Chris has some comments about some of the upcoming things that we coming out in a future release. Then of course we'll take questions from the group as we proceed here. But my first prepared topic today is talking about a little slide deck here. Is talking about some holiday tips for getting ready, getting your email strategy and planning in place as we move into the hectic holiday season here. I just want to share some thoughts with you. I've been poking around on some of the blogs and looking at some various e-marketing newsletters and websites and kind of coming up with some of the common tips that I've been seeing across there, and I thought I'd share those with you. So, tips for holiday email strategy and planning, getting off to a good start now. It's going to creep up on us very, very fast. So if you haven't started planning, start now. I mean, that's really kind of the biggest thing. Get a good plan in place at this point. Other things that are jumping out at me as I read through some of this stuff is segment and target by behaviors, and that's certainly a great piece of advice, and we'll look at that in a little bit more detail here. Keep things to the point, create your content ahead of time, hook your email to your social media channels, and review your opt-in messaging placement. That's actually going to dovetail into, thank you, Victoria. Yeah, I should be showing my screen here. Sorry about that. There we go. Here's my my 6 tips that I'm dealing with. Thank you for letting me know that I'm hosing that up. So start planning now. Segment and target by behaviors. Keep things to the point. Create your content ahead of time. Hook your emails to your social media channels and review your opt-in messaging placement. Like I was saying, that 6th one, review your opt-in messaging placement. That will dovetail in kind of my next piece that I want to talk about as well. So, start planning now. Like I said, if you haven't started doing it yet, it's going to creep up on us very, very fast. So, if you haven't built a plan and a schedule that gets at what you're going to be doing over the holiday season, you want to do that now and start vetting that with the team. And one of the big drivers behind that, obviously, is accounting for resource availability and holiday time off. Nothing can torpedo your plan more going, oh, I didn't know you were going to be out for the week ahead of Black Friday or whatever it might be. So make sure that you're accounting for that. Segment and target by behaviors. I mean, a lot of things on this topic out on blogs and in newsletters. And kind of what it boils down to, the essence of this is take some time to discuss and determine the best audience for each of your campaigns. You're vying for a lot of attention and recognition at a time when inboxes are really full. And the common question that you want to ask is emailing a special offer to everyone on your list really the best approach? Is that going to get you what you want? Or what I'm hearing more often is really target and recognize your most engaged patrons or most engaged customers, and that's kind of the main thrust of things. Do you really want to blast out special offers to everyone and shout at the void, and maybe get flagged as spam because people are irritated by too much email, that type of thing? Or do you really want to zero in and target your most engaged contacts? So something to think about as you look at your holiday plans. Keep things to the point. This one is prevalent everywhere you look on this subject. And it starts with your subject line. Make sure your subject lines accurately reflect what's going on in the campaign, what's being offered, what you're talking about in there. What will really kill open rates are trite holiday type subject lines. 'Tis the season, or just for you at Christmas, things like that. So make sure your subject lines are accurately reflecting what's going on within your campaign. Make sure that your content is easy to digest and to the point. Now is not the time for lots of verbiage. Make good use of images and spare the use of text where you can, and make sure that your calls to action are strong and unmistakable. That's how you're going to get recognized in the inbox. Once somebody opens that, they know exactly what you're up to. They don't have to search for it. Make sure that you're kind of taking that into account, because people are peeling. If they open your message, they're peeling through it quickly, and you want to make sure that that call to action is in a prevalent spot, and you know what's going on. They can tell what's going on with your campaign. Create your content ahead of time. Get ahead of the curve so you can execute against your plan. I know this is hard to do sometimes, but if you can get ahead of that curve and get your artistic, creative stuff in line, get your your marketing text in line, whatever it is, really get ahead of that curve, and that really helps avoid a last-minute rush and missed opportunities. When things get very busy around the holiday season. Hook your emails to social media channels. I'm seeing a lot of talk about this. I think within the last couple of months we did a newsletter article about organizations that are hooking their email campaigns into their Twitter feed or their Facebook wall, that type of thing. If you're not doing it, now is a good time to start thinking about that. And really it comes down to expanding your coverage at a time when your inboxes are full. So it allows you just another way to pull those two channels together and hopefully get your campaigns recognized a little bit more by hooking into Twitter and Facebook, etc. And then review your opt-in messaging placement. This is the time of year we also see a spike in spam complaints. Obviously, with the volume of email that gets sent, consumers get a little overwhelmed and are more likely to hit the spam button rather than kind of changing their opt-in preferences. And that's going to dovetail into my next topic here, is kind of consider revamping the top bar of a campaign. And I'll show some examples of what I mean with that. And that really kind of comes down to making sure that you have clear opt-in messaging in place, and perhaps even a call to action in a place in your campaign in the top bar that provides your messaging in the preview text that pops up. Some of us are on things like Gmail or Outlook, where you actually get that little pop-up maybe in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and you can actually use that to your advantage, that little snippet of preview text that shows up. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. As far as other holiday email strategy and planning tips, any additional thoughts from the group, takeaways, things that they've encountered in the past with emailing around the holiday time? I'd be happy to hear any thoughts from the group.
Hey, John, I've got something I'd like to touch on quickly. Just as we get close to the sort of Cyber Monday date, I'm sure that everybody on the call probably has Cyber Monday campaigns planned. Does anybody not have a Cyber Monday campaign planned, or any kind of like Cyber Monday deal?
Yes, we at 92Y do, because Giving Tuesday, which we launched last year and is now a global campaign, launches on Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys do you do
I'm
a Giving
assuming
Tuesday?
that there are many of the not-for-profits are involved in Giving Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
But we'll go out on Tuesday.
So are you going to do a Cyber Monday deal and a Giving Tuesday deal? Or? No. Okay. So I want to show you guys something really quick that some of you may know about, but I suspect actually many of you don't. Is anybody using the Amazon affiliate program right now on the call? Okay, cool. John, can you make me the presenter real quick?
You betcha.
I just want to show this because this is actually a really cool way to bring your audience into giving to your organization, because shopping on Amazon is something that I think almost everybody does today. You know, I certainly do. We buy tons of stuff on Amazon, especially during Christmas, to ship to friends and family. We're Amazon Prime members, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, you know, it makes sense for us to do all that. And as a nonprofit, it is actually really easy for you to sign up as an affiliate of Amazon, and you get a specific affiliation link for your organization, and anytime somebody links to Amazon through that link and buys something, then your organization gets a cut of whatever they buy. The prices are exactly the same as whatever Amazon typically offers. You get different percentages based on what the item is. So you can see here, there's one organization that I know of that uses Mail2 that's been doing this, and you can see here the kind of money that they've been making, you know, through these items. So like anything that anybody buys, okay, so this is anonymous. You can't see like who's doing the purchasing here and what they're buying, but you can see what items have been bought through your link when you send it out, and you can see what the total price of the item was, what percentage you get of the item that's been sold, and then how much the total fee was that you received as an organization. And they just cut you a check, and there's some settings as far as like, you know, how often you want to receive a check, what the thresholds are for receiving a check. Like, you know, we don't want to receive a check from Amazon until it reaches $500 or until it reaches $50 or whatever. But it's really easy to set up. You have to go through a little bit of back and forth where you fax them your nonprofit tax ID number and certificate and that kind of thing. So you'll want to set it up now. Like, this is something that you guys should look into in the next week to 2 weeks and make a priority if you want to get it done. But with the holiday season coming, sending out a link in an email campaign that says, you know, just at the bottom, basically every campaign that you send out between now and Christmas, you have a link at the bottom that says, you know, want to give to the 92Y this season, do it by buying through Amazon. And all they do is click on that link, it links them off to Amazon, and it doesn't matter what they buy. They can buy diapers, watches, food, anything, and you get some percentage, some varying percentage of what it is that they buy. So I think that it's a great idea for nonprofits to do this. It's really easy to sign up to do it, and it's a great way to make some extra bread during Christmas, you know, in a way that people who maybe aren't or don't have a propensity to give their own money, they may say, well, I don't want to like write a check because, man, Christmas is expensive, but I will buy, I know I'm going to buy everything that I'm buying this Christmas through Amazon, or half of what I buy this Christmas through Amazon, and I will buy through their link because it doesn't cost me any more to do this, and, you know, they get some money from this. So I think that, you know, this is a great strategy for doing that. I'd be curious to hear if anybody does this, what the revenue results are for your organization, because I've seen really positive and very strong results from this. And this is the kind of thing, too, that once you sign up like this, you can create little widgets that you place around your website. It's just copy and paste code that you put throughout your website for specific products. So let's say that your organization has a lot of different tours that come through frequently, and maybe you don't ever have, like there's no conflict contractually with merch being sold in your building or something like that, because sometimes that can get in the way. But you know, if you wanted to sell merch to certain things that are happening in your building when merch isn't available in the building, you know, you can put links to these little widgets that sell the products through your website. Amazon takes care of all the collection, all the fulfillment, you know, everything like that, and you just get a cut of it at the end of the day for sending people to Amazon. So, you know, there's a lot of ancillary benefit to this besides kind of this holiday push thing that we've been talking about. But I'd be curious if anybody does try this, you know, what the results are for you, because like I said, I've seen really, really positive results from this. Like you can see here, just all the different things that people buy, and this organization's getting a cut of all of that. So, any ideas on this? Any thoughts?
That seems that seems like a no-brainer to me. That's awesome. I never knew such a thing existed, and man, I don't see a huge amount of administrative overhead to implement something like that. Man, that's free money, easy free money.
Yeah, no, it's easy to do, and you know, it's just another way to make money.
Yeah.
So during the holidays, for sure. All right.
Okay. Anything else on that?
I should just say if you're interested in doing this, I think you can just go, like, you just create an Amazon account that's like generic for your organization, and then I believe you can just go to Amazon.com, and down in the footer of the main site there's a link for affiliate programs of like becoming a partner of Amazon. So, and you just follow those links. If you need more specific information on how to get set up with this, then shoot us an email through a support ticket, and we can send you instructions back. But easy way to do it. So, John, do you want me to show the Facebook linking stuff while I've got?
Yeah, why don't you go for it since you got control? That's pretty cool feature.
Yep. So sometimes we get questions from you guys about being able to customize the social sharing icons that come as part of the platform when you use the social sharing tokens in the campaigns, because you don't necessarily like the token or the images that are being used there. Maybe you have ones that are more specific to your organization and that kind of thing. You actually can do that. You just have to put the link in on your own in order to do that. So you'd upload your own image, and then you would link that image to one of the URLs that you see here, depending on if it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, StumbleUpon, Reddit, or Delicious. You'd use the campaign ID token to pass the campaign ID in, just like this, so you don't have to keep updating that every time you use it. The C parameter here is just your client ID. If you don't know what that is or you need help finding that, let me know and we can always send that to you. This never changes, it's always the same, and then you just have to have this little P parameter on the end that has no value. But we can send that out or post this to the support site just so you have an example of how to format those links for each of that. And that makes sure that the social sharing is tracked back into the campaign reporting as well, so you can see all the same traffic numbers that you normally see if you use the social sharing token. So just keep in mind, if you don't like the icons and the sharing bar that's dropped in, you can always change those to be your own images and still take advantage of the tracking and all that. So,
it's Elizabeth from 92Y. I have a question not related to this, but going back to the whole giving season period for the group. Can I ask it now?
Ask away.
Okay. So one of the dilemmas that I have as a marketer is that, I'm curious to know from others on the phone, our giving group feels all the time that we should be going to everyone in our database. And arguing that argument or making that case or arguing back, I haven't always been successful, and I'm just wondering how others may have been successful working together with their donor teams.
Well, I can talk to that. This is Victoria. I actually did some research on my end, and I used somebody from application support to help me write some SQL code that looked in constituent records and said, tell me how many emails X number of people received in this period of time. And I went back and I looked on a week-by-week basis, and I put it all in a spreadsheet, and then I got those totals and ran it for monthly numbers and versus our unsubscribe, and it's just, it's not worth it to send it to the entire database if they didn't ask for it.
Yeah, Victoria, thank you. Immediately following, and just for others, and I'm assuming everybody else may be doing the same kind of thing, what I typically do is I take a look at how many spams and unsubscribes we've gotten in comparison to how many donations we've gotten, and that usually for right then and there, they're like, oh, whoops, we really shouldn't have done that, but then their memories go short when we go to re-up something, 4 months later, and I go through this whole debate again.
Well, I think maybe that might be the way that you're set up. Everything has to funnel through my area, and when I see that there's a conflict, I have this gigantic spreadsheet since the beginning of time with every single deployment on there, including performance reminders, how many people it went to, how many people opted out, how many it bounced, how many spam complaints we've gotten, and now we just started including the revenue generated from Google Analytics. And it just shows when you send something that somebody didn't ask for to your entire list, you can see the spike in your unsubscribe. And I mean, our list was 500,000, and we had 2,500 unsubscribes.
Right,
So,
I got you. Okay, using what you've just said is going to help me in a conversation. Just being able to say, FYI, you know, net agrees.
Yeah, maybe you need to funnel it through an individual instead of letting everyone be responsible for their own mailing type.
No, I'm the funnel. I'm the funnel, but
okay.
I have to have this conversation with folks. And it's never a happy one.
You know, Elizabeth, I don't know, just to kind of tie things together here a little bit, I mean, that conversation about, like, emailing everybody in the database to donate to the organization, I mean, I think any sort of sane person can rationalize that that's not a good idea. Maybe I'm wrong because I've met development people. Hopefully there aren't any on the call.
Right, yeah, and just so that everybody on the phone, we never mail everyone.
Yeah.
But it's like I would rather mail, you know, when we're talking, and I know I cut you off, but I'd rather mail in proportion 25% or a 10% audience that's a really good audience than a 35% audience that isn't as good.
So for the other, like, let's say that, you know, using your numbers that you had there, like, you know, emailing the 5 or the 10% audience with a direct, like, give to us kind of message, because they have either a demonstrated propensity to give, or, you know, they've demonstrated key other performance indicators that would indicate they might be willing to give, even if they haven't before. You know, you've got that targeted at people that are going to get just the ask, the flat out give us your money for the holidays kind of ask, right? But then the other 90% of your database, they still get some kind of ask if you use something like the Amazon Associates kind of program, right? It's just a more creative way of going about an ask that can kind of satisfy those development people and say, look, we've got a different kind of ask that we can make here that's softer and will get people engaged with us in a different kind of way that maybe is a little lighter than hitting them over the head with a give us money for the holidays kind of request.
Right.
So I think that using programs like that can help those conversations along a lot, because you're not just saying no, you're presenting an alternative that is probably a better alternative for the people who don't need to see that message, you know.
Gotcha. No, thank you. That's great. And thank you, Victoria, too.
You're welcome. We're also starting to cross-promote in emails, too, other departments to try to eliminate some of the back and forth between departments with who's got what going out first.
Gotcha.
So we started doing that.
Excellent.
All right, John, back over to you.
All right. Anything else on the on the whole holiday and holiday email strategy planning, giving season? Any additional comments on all of that?
Hi, it's Beatrice from the Arts Club.
Go ahead, Beatrice.
Hi. So I have a question about the social sharing. Actually, I've never done it, but then I've seen where we can share emails through Facebook. However, if we were to integrate our Mail2 account with our Facebook account, I do have my personal Facebook account, and then I'm a manager of our company's Facebook page. So how can I integrate that when it'll ask me to log in, but then I'll have to log in with my personal account?
Yeah, that's correct, Beatrice. The way
does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, the way that kind of the Facebook login works, you have to have a personal account to become a content manager, and I think that's the term they use, right, Chris? It's manager, right? The terminology that Facebook uses when you're essentially a content on a
yeah, I think administrator.
Administrator manager.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, whoever is going to be logging in and linking up the account, they have to use their personal credentials as an administrator of the page. So it's one of the security things with Facebook. There's really no way around it until they tweak their security model a bit. So.
Okay, so I guess I'll just try it first before worrying that something will go wrong, I guess.
No. And really, once once it's integrated, you can see currently this is our test client, and it's set for my account as the default, but that can be changed. You can have multiple accounts, personal accounts that are hooked to Facebook from mail2, and then you then select which post location that things go to. And when you set up each individual account to be an administrator for this, you can set a default account and post location, and then you can change those as you need as well. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how the Facebook security kind of works. And you have to hook to your personal account, and then basically tell it what wall you're posting on the behalf of.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
This is good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Kind of dovetailing on the end of my comments on the whole holiday emailing tips piece. Something that we're seeing more of, and I'm kind of going to break this next topic out into two distinct pieces, is using the top bar of an email campaign a little bit more advantageously. Currently, you're probably aware that in most cases a top bar really just has, most often just has, if you have trouble viewing this message, view it in a browser here. And we're seeing more and more email campaigns, more and more organizations using that little piece of real estate differently. And one way that we're seeing that is actually putting in a call to action or a snippet of the offer that's inside of the campaign in that top bar. And the reason behind this is one of the first things that you will see if you have like a preview feature in the email client that that you're viewing your email on, or that little preview that pops up. A lot of times if you're using that to view this image in a browser, or if you are having trouble viewing this image, see it in a browser, that's what gets shown in that little preview. It's picking up that first string of text and putting it in there. And that's not very compelling in a lot of cases, and it's pretty much easy enough to put that elsewhere, put the view in browser link somewhere else within, maybe in the footer, wherever it might be, but really using that top bar text differently. Another thing, recently, if you've been following kind of soft bounce patterns in your completed campaign reporting, you may be noticing some spikes in soft bounces with AOL email addresses, and maybe some in Hotmail as well. And what we've been seeing recently is that there's been a bit of a rise in soft bounces from AOL, basically due to rising numbers of spam complaints. And any time that you see that, we see spam complaints rise with AOL. What AOL essentially does is they start soft bouncing, or sort of self-throttling email senders, and they'll start soft bouncing at higher rates until they see their spam complaint numbers come down. The problem really stems from there's not a lot of AOL email addresses out there that most organizations send to, by comparison to Gmail and other ones. So it doesn't take a lot of spam complaints from a couple of a relatively small number of AOL email accounts to get over the threshold that AOL sets for spam. The target for AOL is 0.1% a spam complaint rate, and sort of their threshold is 0.3. When you start exceeding that 0.3 threshold, that's when AOL starts putting soft bounce blocks on senders and kind of self-throttles how much email that you actually deliver to AOL e-addresses. One of the things that you can do, and this is across the board, not necessarily just for AOL, but any ISP, any email service, is rethink where you place your opt-in statement for within the body of your campaign. And a top bar is a great place to do that as well. And really remind people that they're getting this email because they're a patron or they've opted in to receive that email. And make your unsubscribe link or your manage your preference link much more prominent within the campaign. What this will do is it will prompt people to use the unsubscribe method rather than just kind of hitting the spam button within their email client. And you know, if you have some if you have a contact that's probably received several campaigns from you over the course of time, maybe they don't check their email all the time, they may come in and they see 3 or 4 different messages that have accumulated from you over time, and they just blanket spam, mark those as spam. All those count against you as a sender. So giving them the opportunity to manage unsubscribe rather than hitting that spam button, that's a good call in my opinion. The other thing, as far as kind of going into the holiday season, that I would strongly recommend is really it's a good time to look at the overall health of your email database. Look at your non-engagers. It's a good time to maybe do a little house cleaning. Look at those that haven't opened email campaigns from you over the last year, 18 months, and think about getting rid of those. Because those non-engaged contacts, you know, as Chris calls it, it's shouting at the void, and it also exposes you to the risk that, you know, at this time of year, people may get irritated and hit the spam button rather than, you know, going through the unsubscribe process. So thoughts, questions on kind of retooling or repurposing or revamping that top bar?
Well, I just have a question on the AOL complaint rate period. You said 0.3 is where they start, when they start to deliver you, when they start soft bouncing you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. I'm at 0.17 for AOL, and I have a lot of soft bounces. And I noticed that the comparison report now in the bounced column is including soft bounces, which I don't think it did before. So I feel like something changed. So it looks like I have 50,000 bounces for a 300,000 list, when in reality I had 90 hard bounces. Like, we try to keep our list really clean. So I'm concerned because I'm reporting on those numbers, and I have to tell my staff to go into each one instead of looking at the comparison report. But I just feel like that may have changed. I mean, unless I'm just noticing it more because the numbers are really big now.
I'll have to look, Victoria. I don't think the comparison report has changed.
But
Okay.
Yeah.
Victoria, and also, you know, John and Chris, and we've talked a little bit about this. It's Elizabeth from 92Y. Today I loaded a list, and for the very first time I got a large proportionally list of bounces that didn't get loaded in. I have never not had our names, who we mail all the time, not load in. And the names represented all types of accounts. It was not just AOL. It was, you know, any kind of imaginable account. Something is definitely different.
Yeah, that's weird.
Elizabeth, was that the, I see it in my inbox, I haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
Is that the ticket you sent in earlier?
Yeah. It was like today when I loaded a list, I got proportionally, it was about 10% of my list that bounced. That's never happened to me. And our numbers were minuscule in terms of bounces up until September 2nd.
Elizabeth, were you importing via a CSV file? Is that how you're bringing them in?
No, in Excel.
Okay, through a flat file though.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take a look at that specifically with you. We have not seen that issue across all users' accounts. So that's a little bit different than the issue that John's talking about with bounces.
Okay.
So I want to look at that specifically in the context of the 92Y's account and see what might have gone on with that. But the AOL Hotmail issue that John's talking about has been a bit more pervasive in terms of trying to kind of encourage people to take corrective action with those two specific providers, because it seems as though they've gotten a little tighter recently in terms of how they're treating soft bounces. Victoria, from your perspective, you guys are treated a little bit differently because you pay for a dedicated IP address for the Met. So this issue would not affect the Met because you guys have your own IP address.
Right.
So, well, I mean, I shouldn't say it wouldn't affect you. If you ever had spam rates go above the threshold for AOL, it would affect you. But if you're under them right now, then it would not affect you.
Well, it is, though, because I looked at a deployment this morning, and I had 54,000 bounces. And when I looked at the report itself, they're soft bounces. And when I went in that number, it's a lot of AOL email addresses. So, John, according to that email, when you and I spoke last on the 3rd, my rate is at 0.17.
Right.
So I just don't understand. I know that people are hitting the spam button more in AOL, and I get that. But if 0.3 is what's supposed to start delivering you or bouncing you.
Above 0.1, and it starts to get harder to, they get more, you want to be under 0.1. That's where you want to be. And anytime you're over that, they start to throttle it more. And if you're above 0.3, that's where it really starts to get, they basically shut you down.
Okay. Okay. I mean, moving the unsubscribe to the top is certainly not going to, that's not going to happen.
Right.
The other thing that we've recommended with some organizations that is actually even making that that unsubscribe messaging, make that appear only for AOL subscribers, which can still be obtrusive for AOL recipients, but can make it basically invisible so it doesn't render for anybody else.
Right. I mean, our link is clear.
Yeah.
It's just at the bottom of the email, where it is in every other email that I ever get from anyone.
Yep.
Hi, it's Beatrice from the Arts Club. I just wanted to comment on the top bar. I think it's a really good idea to put a message about the campaign, the overall campaign, on the top bar. I think my colleagues and I realized this a few months ago when we were looking at one of our email campaigns through our iPhones. So on the iPhone, the subject line appears, and then the message below is the top bar message. So I think it's really helpful to have a message on your top bar other than if you want to view your message through your browser, click on this link. It's nice to see sort of a summary of your email campaign on the top bar. And another comment I had was on the unsubscribe link. What I do is I also place it at the bottom, but then I make the color of the unsubscribe, the word itself, I make it light gray. I don't know if it's the trick my patrons not to unsubscribe, but so that they can't see it. I mean, it's there, they can see it, but hopefully they won't see it clearly enough to just unsubscribe. It's not really tricking them, it's more just discouraging them from unsubscribing. So it's a suggestion, though.
Years.
Then they're going to hit the spam button for us more.
Hopefully not, though. Hopefully not.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the on kind of the I guess the potential reuse of the top bar? Okay. I did get one question ahead of time from, let's see if I can find it here, from Aubrey. Aubrey, you are with us this afternoon. Let me see if I can pull up your question here. Oh, I just had it here. Sorry. Aubrey asked, I would like to know if it's possible to set up a list as a determinant for conditional content. And actually, I just got this question. I was in Pittsburgh earlier this week, and I got this very same question during a session there. And it's basically, is there a way to specify a list or an opt-in to a list as one of the parameters for conditional content? So if this email address is a member of this list, show them this content. And actually right now there isn't. There isn't a way to do that. But there is a workaround for it, Aubrey. And basically what it amounts to is if you have a list of, in mail2, whatever type of list it might be. So I'm just going to go to, I got one of my private lists here that we can show this with. Lists and private. What you can do is you could set up a custom field in mail2 that signifies that email addresses are part of that list. And this was the example that I used with in Pittsburgh the other day. So here's my, let's say this list, this 2013-14 subscribers. Let's say this is everybody who's opted in to receive dance type email information. And I want to be able to specify that list to receive only dance type information in my campaign, so the use of conditional content. So what I can do with this whole list is I can actually set a custom field value. So what I did ahead of time is I have a new custom field out in mail2, and that's done under contacts, custom fields. You can create a new one. And let's say I call that dance list. That's my new custom field. And then let's say every email address that I want to have that indicator on it, I can populate that with yes. And basically, just setting that custom field to indicate that everyone on this list is on it, is on my dance list. Then when I go over to create my conditional content, let's go back to this one that I had started here. Say I'm creating conditional content here. Then I can use that custom field to indicate if dance list equals yes, show relevant dance content for anyone on the dance list here. And then, of course, I could make other conditions if I wanted to. I'm just going to insert this. So basically, it's just a matter of creating a custom field that signifies that somebody's a member of a certain list and matches up with that, and then creating your conditional content statement based off that new custom field. Aubrey, does that kind of answer your question? All right, excellent. Chris, have you ever received that question about using a list as a conditional content statement?
Not specifically for lists, but for other items. I mean, things like user client, like email reader client, mobile, that kind of stuff, which is all in the hopper for future development, but right. Nothing quite yet on that front. So. Okay, cool. That's kind of where I was going with that question. It sounds to me like that would be a good parameter to be able to put in for conditional content. Mm-hmm. Any other questions from the group today before we call it good?
I had a quick conditional content question. It's Victoria, if you couldn't tell by the accent.
Were you?
So, we are about to our performance reminders. Yay, finally. And there are some performance reminders that we deliver that have an image that will link them to video on our website, and there are some that don't have an image. So is there a way, and then there are some that message for a special room and some that don't. So is there a way to put conditional content in the custom-based view so that the schedule can pick this template versus the regular template? Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
And put it in the view?
Yeah, like we used, Julie had written a custom views. So basically, I guess what I'm asking is there any way to choose different templates based on certain criteria in the view? Or do I just have to be really careful?
It would be basically that comes into play when you design the campaign that marries up to the job that is controlled by the view. So let's say it's basically you would have one template for one view and another template that marries up with that other view that doesn't have that. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, now I'm confused.
Hey, Victoria, you probably want to just have different views and then have a just set up different scheduled jobs that actually use different. So there would be different jobs if they need to use a completely different email template. That would be the best way to do that. So there's nothing in the view. Like you're not going to pass in a parameter to the scheduled job that says like send this campaign for this user because they have this flag in the custom view, but send this other campaign for this user because they have this in their custom view. It doesn't work that way. Every block of patrons in the same job that runs, that gets pulled for a particular schedule, gets the same campaign that you select when you set up the schedule. If you need to send different campaigns, actually like different, entirely different templates, like you call it, to like different users within the same view poll that you do, then you'll want to break that up into separate views and say like send this campaign to this block of people, this campaign to this block of people.
Yeah, it's more like Monday's performance, this coming Monday's performance has a video on the website and Tuesday's performance doesn't. So I don't even think that there's a way to do that in the view. It would just have to be handled with conditional content within the template itself, but then if they need any anomalies, like we need to point something out, then I basically need to stop the schedule.
You would need to, so basically here's one way that you could handle that. Like, and this is more general like for all the users, just if you guys wanted to do something like this. Whenever you want to use conditional content based on something that changes with regularity, like I got this question from the Arch Center the other day about scheduled campaigns, and they were asking like, hey, we want to just use conditional content to say whether or not this particular thing, it was a parking notice, should be displayed or not. But that parking notice text changes campaign by campaign. How do we automate it so that that gets plugged in automatically? And the answer to that is, well, you know, you still have, like, automated logic is really good at using workflows that are predefined where you can expect certain values in certain places and have an expected output. And that's essentially what we're working with. So the automated campaign process is not going to, you know, at the risk of sounding flip, like it doesn't read your mind and go out and find the right text and automatically jam it in there. Like that's not a reasonable expectation for code. What it can do though is if you go in and you manually set a flag somewhere, because every time you have that content that needs to change, you need to set a marker for that that says, okay, this content needs to change for this performance. The custom view can pick up that marker and say, oh, this one has the has video marker, and maybe that's done using a keyword that you apply in Tessitura, maybe it's using web content that you apply in Tessitura, and it says, okay, now pass this flag back through the view. Then you can use conditional content in your campaign to say, hey, this has the has video flag from the custom view output as a 1, so show this block of video content. And maybe that block of video content includes web content that has like the video ID and like whatever, you know, whatever needs to be put in there for specific for that performance. I mean, it's relatively it's not that hard to set up, but you do have to think through like a logical workflow, and if content changes with any regularity, you need to be able to identify to the scheduled job when it runs, like, hey, this content is different than the norm somehow. Because it's not just going to know that because it's a, like you said, oh, this is a Monday performance, I need to show video. Like, that's not really a good way to do that. Does that explanation make sense?
Yeah, I think so, and I think I could handle it with conditional content. We have that giant table that Julie created for us where she's pulling a lot of this data, and the videos that I'm missing, I wrote not yet. So I can say, if not yet, deliver this, else deliver this.
Yeah.
And that
right.
should work.
Yes.
Okay, but anything like snazzy, if I need to add a sentence because the Belmont room is closed, then I need to stop the schedule and manually send that out, right?
It depends on how far in advance that you know that the Belmont room is closed.
Yeah, I don't know that far in advance. It's like, hey, for Friday's performance, can you put a little clause in there that the Belmont room is closed?
Yeah. So it's like as long as it's prior to when your automated job runs,
right.
You could do something like that because essentially you would just go into Tessitura. You could use web content for that custom message where you populate that web content at the performance level for that specific performance, and then Julie's View would be tooled to pick up the content of that web content field, pass that back through, and you can include that using a token. So we can include, content like that that's different performance by performance if you use web content and the tokens associated with them, to merge into the campaign. And you can use conditional content to say, like, if this field has a value, then show it. If it doesn't, then don't. So you can do that in an automated way where you don't have to stop the campaign. It's just a matter of, like, if the job runs before you're told, then the opportunity.
Right, and I honestly think that there's less room for error if I stop the job and we send out the performance reminder for that particular day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so another easy way to do that then would be to make sure that you're using, using a keyword filter for the view when they pull, and you're only pulling it for performances that have the send reminder keyword applied to them. That way, you don't ever have to worry about stopping and starting the job. It's just, hey, remove the keyword from that performance, if we need to send it manually, and it won't get picked up by the job because the keyword.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's clever, but they still don't tell me until like a day or two before. Yeah. So it's really pointless.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Sure. Awesome. All right. What else?
Any other final questions from the group? Okay. If not, we shall call it good for our October edition, and we will catch up with everyone next month on the November webinar. And in the interim, if you don't have a holiday plan, probably want to start working on that. And like always, anything else comes up, hit us up on the support line, mail2@lynch2.com, and we'll talk to you all later. Thanks, everyone.
For Amazon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.